Okay, now we are constantly producing it and regularly ready to give it away for free. Big data has started to be seen as the big enemy since Cambridge Analytica's scandal, whereby millions of Facebook users saw their information misused. But just how valuable can our name, date of birth or online shopping trends actually be? And what is the risk to having these details become public? With me in studio to give us today's perspective is a French lawyer who has actually written a book on the matter, L'Empire des Données, or the Empire of Information. It looks at society, algorithms and, of course, the law. Mr. Adrien BASDEVANT, thanks for your time. Well, let me start simply with that question. Is big data dangerous?
I don't think we should consider it as dangerous because it's a techno-skeptic approach and we have to be really constructive about it. So I would say it's definitely a subject that is a key democratic issue today. This is why we should address it and debate it publicly.
Because when you look at it, I mean, data, it involves everything. It involves our names, our date of birth, or addresses. But how useful is all that, given that a lot of us actually lie a bit online as well?
Yeah, you can have diverse activities that are related to data. You can do some profiling about it. And the case of Facebook against Cambridge Analytica shows that you can do political profiling of data so that you can maybe influence swing voters to vote for your candidate, whereas he was or she was thinking about voting for another one.
Oh yeah, sending you articles and information that
exactly.
twist your view.
Yeah, some kind of filter bubble, as it has been coined by a searcher in the US a few years ago. It can be a way to manipulate the crowd or to address, governance issue.
Yeah, of course. So there is a negative side to it, but there's also a very positive one. I mean, if we share information on healthcare or security, in that case, we need big data and we need to have this information shared.
Exactly. In healthcare, there are a lot of applications that are really positive. You can have predictive and personalized medicine so that you can maybe predict the symptoms before they appear and treat the disease earlier.
Because I've even seen there's a former culture minister, I believe in the UK, instead of giving money to charity this year, she gave information on her cancer illness, because the more we share, the more we can see what works, what doesn't work. It sounds, though, Mr. BASDEVANT, like the big question is, like everything, the control we have over it, and we need laws and regulations in place. The EU has come up with a new one that is going to be put in place on May 25th. Does it actually, though, protect average citizens like myself online?
Exactly. This is a really huge regulation. It's called the GDPR, for General Data Protection Regulation. It's a regulation that is applying everywhere within the EU, and even with the Brexit, UK is going to apply it. And there are also big national companies that are eager to apply it worldwide, such as Microsoft. And there's this debate right now about whether Facebook is going to apply it worldwide as well. But Mark Zuckerberg, after promising it, finally he's changed his mind, apparently.
He's backtracking on it. Because give us an idea of what does this law entail? I mean, I think one thing is, for example, I could ask my company what information they have on me, from everything from telephone calls, where I was mentioned, emails, which sounds like a very costly process. Is it necessary?
Yeah, let me give you a concrete example. With this regulation, you have a principle which is called privacy by design, which means, for instance, that any company or any government that uses personal data about citizens should develop an infrastructure which is by default and by design protective of the user privacy. And the Cambridge Analytica scandal, for instance, revealed that a third-party application, Cambridge Analytica, can have access to your friend's information. And that shows that the infrastructure was not privacy by design. It was not ethic by design either. So this is something really concrete that you can...
Yeah, we'll have a direct vision on if we're giving away our information and what it will actually be used for.
Exactly.
So that will become illegal. One thing that worries me a bit, though, Mr. BASDEVANT, is that laws often take a lot of time to put in place, whereas technical advances are pretty rapid. Will we not always be a little bit behind reality?
I think we're always lagging behind, but the thing is we have to debate it publicly, because if there is only technological solution to social problems, that won't work, and we can't see it now because the way the data were collected and processed by Facebook or Cambridge Analytica is unethical. And if there is no law, imagine that the US for years have been tried to undermine the GDPR, the European regulation, and now they are maybe considering about creating a law. So I think it can't be all about law, it can't be all about technology, but we have to have a constructive mix.
And I guess a personal responsibility. Everybody has to be more aware.
And a personal responsibility. There has been a free ride for too long, and I think that those big companies also have to take their own responsibility as well. And us as users, we have to be aware. And there's a lack of awareness. And this is a lot to do with education as well. I think this is the future challenge.
Indeed, it seems innocuous to us, but our information can be important and have a huge impact on our lives. Mr. Adrien BASDEVANT, thanks so much for coming into us in studio here at France 24. Adrien BASDEVANT, a lawyer here in France who has written a book about l'empire des données, that's the empire of information, if you like, looking at how our online data can be used and what laws need to be put in place.